Hey, I'd like to welcome you guys back to my Let's Play of Dark Souls 3, and it's been quite a while, and I apologize for that, but since we're doing the Undead Settlement today, and it's a huge area, I'm just going to get right into it before going over everything. So we go to the Vort bonfire, and I don't think I've actually gone down there yet. So the reason I've been gone is it's the end of the semester, as everyone knows, and I was busy with finals and stuff like that. And I just kind of wanted to take a step back and relax and not worry about too much. But I have been missing recording, and I wanted to get you guys this episode out there, mostly because the Undead Settlement is a huge area, and it was intimidating for me to want to record it. But we're going to see how we tackle it. There's a lot going on here. I usually try not to talk through cutscenes, but this is a... There's no dialogue here, so I don't think it's going to matter too much. We see the familiar face of our friends from Dark Souls 1, who took us all the way to Anor Londo. They will be helping us go down into the big valley we saw from the high wall there. Now, like I said, the Undead Settlement is a very intimidating area. It is gigantic. I don't think there... It might be the biggest area in Dark Souls 3 as a whole, other than the Cathedral of the Deep, maybe. And I'm absolutely certain I'm going to miss a few items here or there, but I'm going to be trying my best not to. I did a little review beforehand, so hopefully I don't miss too much. I'm at least going to try and hit all the NPCs, of which there are quite a few. So you might see me go out of my way just to check for areas that I don't normally know about, just to make sure I don't miss too much. Normally when I'm playing through this section, I'll run ahead, try and get through the gate before the guy can close it. Since I'm being more thorough here, we're gonna not do that. Quickstep is actually fairly effective against the dogs too, which is really nice. Like I said, I don't have much experience with this weapon art or daggers in general in this game. That was very smooth. So if we go over here, we're going to get our first NPC in general in this area.
Please, grant me death. Undo my shackles. Oh, then it's true. A champion of Ash as I live and breathe. To be in your presence is a great honor.
Come over here, buddy.
I am Yol of Londo, a pilgrim, as you can see, only somehow I failed to die as was ordained. Well, perhaps my calling lies elsewhere. Say, champion of Ash, how does the idea of taking me into your service strike you? I was once a sorcerer. Surely I can be of use.
Sounds fine to me.
I am honored, truly. I should be dead, yet you have granted me purpose anew. I, Yol of Londo, do solemnly swear myself to you.
So Yol is a pretty cool character, in my opinion. The pilgrims in general are fairly unique. I had very little idea of what to make of them when I first played the game, and I still don't really know too much. All I can really suffice to say is that they are very clearly headed towards the Lothric Castle on their pilgrimage, and that they're supposed to die, as Yol just said. He failed to do so, and that was considered a bad thing. Their form is fairly interesting. They're very reminiscent of the snake enemies we find later in the game, with the curly, dragging neck. And their outfit is also, to me, somewhat reminiscent of the Xanthus set, actually, which may be unintentional, but it's very billowy in its cloth, which reminds me of Xanthus King Jeremiah and the old monk from Demon Souls. Undead Settlement is fairly interesting because it gets a really good mix of both outside large courtyard areas with pretty cramped claustrophobic interiors, which I find pretty nice. High Wall of Lothric doesn't really have the same big courtyards. Ooh. But High Wall doesn't have the same big courtyards. While it does have the cramped areas, I guess, to be fair, but seeing them together adds a lot of variety to the gameplay. And a lot of that has to do simply with the fact that it's such a huge area, for sure. This is an example of one of those cramped areas, and I'm going to have to be very thorough to make sure I don't miss anything within it. And once again, as always, I'm going to apologize for my lapses in commentary. I felt like I was getting a little more into it in the last video, and then I went and didn't record for 2 to 3 weeks, so now I'm out of it again. So just bear with me. But we do have quite a few things to talk about here, and I do want to say thanks for those of you who've stuck with me and are interested in hearing what I have to say, because I realize it's not a ton of information. It's mostly just my general ramblings and musings on the game. But I do have quite a few of those, so it's nice to know someone out there is listening to them. Ooh. These guys are always a pain throughout the game. I'm sure that's no spoiler to y'all. And here we come out into the main courtyard area of this Undead Settlement in general. And this is a huge pain in the ass to do normally. In fact, we might just call upon some items. Because there's no reason not to, right? Clear the ranks a little. We want to take out these guys before the channeler. That's not what they are. That's what they're reminiscent of to me. I was gonna go for the backstab there. Wrong key. Go for the backstab there, but then that guy didn't help very much. So there we go. That's gonna help a ton as long as we're using the dagger. And luckily these guys just wanted to let us fight her. Which is always nice to see. Normally you can get pretty mobbed up on there. And I'm sure I'm going to have to hit multiple bonfires in this area because I'm rusty and trying to talk while playing, so I'm going to be very off my game. I believe it was in my Lost recording, my first time I did the High Wall, that I explained my outlook on items, but I think I might have covered it in my re-recording either way, but just in case I didn't. In general, like, I thought about doing my musings on things like weapons and various items, and I found that it kind of just pads the commentary in a way that might not be worth it. Maybe you guys would rather hear something over the times I'm not talking about anything, and I'd love to hear about that in the comments. Right now, I feel like I don't have too much to offer in terms of what the items mean. I have comments on the weapons I like, the armor I like. As an aside, I actually do archaeology of ancient weapons as my focus in academia right now. So it's pretty nice to get to talk about weapons in general, but it kind of doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of Dark Souls. But if y'all are interested in hearing things like the real-life equivalents of some of these weapons, I'd love to tell y'all about them. I just don't want to start shoving it into my commentary when it's uncalled for the most part. Now, we're at a bit of a crossroads here. We can go many different directions. We can go down this way, I believe, is open. Maybe not. Maybe you need a key for here. Or the door to open from the side. Nope, you can just go straight through it. And I think we might not do that, we're probably going to go visit another area in the settlement first. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, like I said, items I'm a little iffy on because I don't have a ton to talk about them in the scope of the whole Dark Souls series. That's something you want to go to someone like Vadi or Epic Name Bro for. I'm more here just to talk about the game in general. Like, I really, really enjoy this game, and it's nice to get to play it and talk about the things that I feel about it. Also, hopefully, evangelizing a few people over to my points of view, of course. Now we gotta be super careful here. As we are getting shot at. Thought there might have been an item dropped, but it was just a soul on the ground. Or a bloodstain, rather. Ooh. Now we are out of Estus. So we have to be careful, that always helps, of course. And this part is a little confusing because I don't quite know the direction I want to take my my explorations here. I mostly just want to clear out these guys. Just to make sure they're not shooting at me while I'm down there. And of course this guy didn't fall to his death. So that's pretty nice. I feel like that's a decent place to start here. And I figured that guy was coming, actually, so we're gonna pull it out. I'm trying to focus with my low health here, so forgive me. Part of me really wants to have gone back to the bonfire by now, or gotten the one we're about to come upon. But that would be a bit of a waste of time, and we're already so behind on time in terms of how long I want this episode to be, just because this area is gigantic. Luckily we have the stamina to just kind of R1 swing through those guys, which is really convenient. And this little thief down here, which is, they're either thieves or slaves. I think they might actually be slaves. I want to be real careful about trying to voice through his attacks. Or I guess try and interrupt his attacks, because he could voice through them. And that was real close to getting us killed. And thinking back, it was kind of pointless for me to do the side area with all the thieves up there, because I'm just going to have to reset it anyway when I sit at this bonfire. So I don't think I can do a little side section up there without dying. But we're just going to make sure we get the bonfire here. I got very scared that fall would kill me, as it very nearly did. Get us a nice little checkpoint here. One of my favorite things about Undead Settlement in general is that it's such a nice area for doing speedruns through, because it's very quick. You can avoid the vast majority of the enemies without even having to kill them. Which isn't the case in some areas. In particular, areas like Cathedral, the Deep are very hard to just straight pacifist speed run through, because you have tiny little walkways that are blocked by enemies unless you hit them. That doesn't really happen in Cathedral or into the Undead Settlement. And on top of that, you have very nice bonfire spacing in general, which makes speed running through it a very nice experience, not a pain at all. If we go up here, we can not only take some damage, take out some fire bombers to make our lives a little easier. We can rescue a nice NPC that we won't actually personally be utilizing, But it's nice to get his story out of the way.
Aha, unkindled, are we? Welcome to my abode. I am Cornyx, an old pyromancer. A crow in his cage, as you see now. But here we are, an encounter for the ages. I hear the unkindled make for fine vessels. Care to learn some pyromancies from this old man? Ah, most wise. A chance encounter should not be squandered. To reiterate, I am Cornyx of the Great Swamp. The pleasure is mine.
And just like that, he warps out of the cage, so... Good to know he was just waiting for someone to teach pyromancies there. Interesting little tidbit. Ooh. Not even sure where that came from. Very possibly from below, from those guys I knocked off, actually. Use a firebomb to, well, it was to try and save us some pain, but looks as if that's not going to be the case. And this guy is just giving us the business, straight up. I've never been a fan of fighting these guys. I struggle with it very often, mostly because I tend to avoid fighting them. I imagine if I actually just made the effort to fight them every time, I would be quite a bit better at it. It's very easy to get caught up in the mindset of spam R1 as a dagger, utilizing the dagger as a weapon, but I need to make sure not to do that because it's never a good habit in Dark Souls. I see so many newer players struggle with the game, and if they simply counted their strikes, so to speak, it would make a ton of difference in the grand scheme of it all. And I think I have enough health in 1 Estus here to go back and check out the little side area up ahead. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to run past these guys for now. Make an effort to run past these guys, rather. That's the fall I was worried about not being able to make earlier. We come upon a nice little quaint area with a friendly cage guy, who we will talk to in a moment. Once I make sure I have not missed any items. I believe that there was dialogue with this guy, but maybe I simply missed it by going from the back. I didn't see a prompt from the front, though. But he's going to take us down to what should be our second covenant, I believe. We got the Way of Blue or the Blue Sentinels, whichever one it was before. I think the Way of Blue, from Emma at the Cathedral in Lothric Castle, or the High Wall, technically, the entrance to Lothric Castle proper. This is a particularly interesting little side area because not only does it have a pretty obscure way to get to it. You have to go off that little beaten path, go find that guy, and instead of attacking him because all the other ones of that enemy type have been hostile, you have to climb into the cage on his back. But not only that, but the area he takes you to is actually going to be the scene of our boss fight in this area, or part of it at least. So it's a really cool little way to introduce a familiar area, either to someone who's played the game before and fought that boss fight before, or to the intrepid adventurer who found this before getting to the boss and then crumbles down into it during the fight.
Well, what's up? This pit is for hollows, not for the likes of you sane folk. Or perhaps you are a hollow, posing as otherwise? No, of course you're not. That's what you mad fools always say. But we'll all be mad soon enough. And should you be undead, well, all the more so. Beware, the shackles of the gods are fragile. You might need this. Etch it on your heart if you feel your sanity slipping. Come here to pile up your victims, for that will form your anchor. You'll see when you go mad. They'll be your family. You'll go mad one day, but not today. Take my advice. Use this bone and leave this place. This pit is for hollows, and for the occasional madman fond of piling up victims. You've better things to do, I'd hope. This pit is for you.
We're gonna take his advice and it's like I've forgotten how to use the menu here. Oh. Y'all can tell how frazzled I am. Out of practice. I think that's the first time I've actually had to go into the menu this session. We're going to take his advice and homeward bone out of here, because I believe that's the only way out, actually. You don't get a bonfire down here till after the boss fight I mentioned. Dark Souls 3 does a lot of interesting stuff with the nature of hollows in general that is fairly fun to look at. He mentions that you're either a hollow or posing as one to be down there, which is an interesting way to phrase that kind of question. Because why would someone pose as a hollow? But as we can see, we're living, or I guess we're going through a settlement where hollows are living and have created for themselves a settlement. I know it's called the Undead Settlement, but really it's more apparent that it's for hollowed undead, not for the sane undead. Look at its inhabitants that we've run across so far. And there will be a lot to talk about in general as we go through Dark Souls 3 in terms of what it means to be hollow, who is a hollow, these kinds of things. And I was hesitant to begin using things like firebombs, but I feel like it makes the game go much smoother to be able to pull enemies. Hopefully I can find some throwing knives. I probably already have a few. That would be more thematic for my character here. Let's see. Yes, we do. Which will scale with our little bit of dex and make more sense. Now that big door here is for the boss fight, and we will unlock it from the other side soon enough. I just wanted to clear out the area, because we're going to be taking a little shortcut through the sewer up here. I haven't forgotten about the crossroads at the main courtyard that I avoided, and we will get around to that soon enough. There's just so much to do. Well, that makes our life a whole lot easier. I believe before we go, I believe before we go down that bridge, we will take the sewer first. A little cramped sewer. We're gonna need to go back to the Firelink Shrine at some point to get a key for the door in here. I'll be trying to do all of this episode, but we'll see how it goes. The bleed is extremely useful against larger enemies like this, I've noticed. It's hard to tell on the small ones, because you just tend to kill them before the bleed actually gets a chance to proc. But it's nice to see it against something like that giant rat. So we've just opened up a little shortcut here to another bonfire that would loop back around into the courtyard from earlier. And I'll probably take that route first, just to show you guys. And we are going to get invaded here. I believe by Hodrick is the guy we just spoke to in the Moundmaker Covenant, so he is off trying to pile up bodies, as he mentioned. We're gonna hopefully not fall victim to him. I would like to get him out of this little area he's in. Just because that cage guy's gonna come through and through. As he is doing right now. I'm very scared of being interrupted here. Not that it looks like I'm doing much better, sans interruption. Very poor heal there. Oh. Man, he's really on point with us today. As you can see, like I mentioned, PvP is not really my strong suit. We're gonna take out that cage guy before fighting him this time. Make our lives a little bit easier. I don't even really have to. I don't believe he actually drops anything other than a vertebra shackle, which is the Covenant item for the Moundmakers. But it would be nice just for completion's sake. We're getting a little risky here. So with that guy dead and half my essence burned, not to mention, he will pop an ember. Should probably quick bar those too. Try not to get parried again. I actually don't know how not to get parried, to be honest, other than when he's two-handed, of course. Because he can obviously just hyper armor through most of my strikes. And then apparently can parry during the combo. Which makes it not a combo, to be fair. I need to watch out for that. I guess it's just very hard to aggress on him when he's one-handing in general. We just kind of have to rush him down when he's doing this. And that. He's really getting the better of us, unfortunately. Oh. There we go. Luckily the AI isn't always the best, at least, which is nice for us there. Yeah, and he just drops a vertebra shackle. We really lucked out that he tried to take a sip from his NPCs, but I'm not complaining for certain. And we will be going backwards here, like I mentioned. A note on crystal lizards. I obviously would like to get them all, but there are a lot of them that I just don't believe you can get every crystal lizard in one run through on. You would have to reload the area multiple times, for example, in parts where there's 2 or more crystal lizards in the same area, because they'll scatter and you'll probably only realistically be able to get 1. Oh my god. The game is really apologizing for allowing Hodrick to destroy me like that earlier, which is always a pleasant time. I welcome that kind of RNG any day. Now this part's a little tricky because we have one of these evangelists, that's their name, up here. And we'd like to get her down here. I don't know how realistic that is for us now. Unfortunate there. I got her real close though. I got her to about half. The bleed proc helped a lot, but fighting her up here is just such a pain because you have so little room to actually roll from those vertical strikes. The horizontal ones aren't really a problem. I want to avoid that guy because there's no way in hell we're getting RNG like that again. I wonder, I debate, I guess, whether I should re-ember or not, because it does help make the game quite a bit easier, obviously, but it opens us up to invasions. I'm pretty sure I'm online right now. Maybe we can actually sneak up on her here, but I highly doubt it. But maybe she'll fall off now. Nice. That helps us a bunch, so being able to actually get the backstab off and avoid that, most importantly, makes that a lot easier. But I don't know if I actually want to be invaded too much, and I don't know how much benefit there is. I know where most of the NPC invasions are, I believe. So that's not going to be an issue. I'll probably end up embering during harder boss fights in general. Because, like I said, I'm not a good enough caliber player to get away with not doing so a lot of the time. Depends on how much vigor I actually get to pump in this build. My stats, I'm still debating, I guess you'd say, whether I'm going to go the hollow or the dex route, I think it was. I'm either going to be doing hollow Howlin' Fusion max luck, or I will be going a bleed route, in which case I could really go a bit of luck in Dex, but I'm not sure what's better. Really depends on if I want to use the Karthus Rouge or not. We've got quite a few guys in this little bit here. It's very nice that our dagger actually can interrupt them. It's very nice that it actually strikes wide enough to hit multiple enemies at once like that. It makes our lives a lot easier when clearing out areas like this. Now I'd like to get to that item that's right back here. My memory fails me on the best way to do it. That is the best way to do it. Now, interestingly enough, if you come here through the quote-unquote proper way, you actually get a nice little shot of that bonfire there, which can be very relieving when you're looking for sanctuary after getting through these areas. Odd that there's nothing in here. Maybe a guy busted out of there. Now, unfortunately, our dagger here does not apparently have a single thrust attack, which is really unfortunate, because these little cage guys we're coming up on are fairly resistant to physical damage that isn't thrust. Oh, we can do that, though. Which just makes it a little hard to time. Yeah, that's a slash attack. What is our jump attack like? I believe that might actually be thrust. Not a good idea, though. Yeah, that is a poor idea. Maybe our... Ooh, I've actually never seen these guys do that. Our quick-step attack is also thrust, which is nice there. I've actually never seen that attack before. You usually don't end up fighting these guys that much, or from that range. One of the biggest mistakes you can make against these thieves that you just saw me make was panic back-rolling, try and outspace them, and their jump attacks make that a fairly bad idea. Man, trying to space out these attacks too. It's probably a much better idea to quick step into it because the range is shorter. Now that door is locked, but we can still access it from up here, as you'll see. I tried. Get to cut the corpse down, get us a nice little soul, which is always fun. And that guy, you can kind of tell which ones are alive or not based upon their texture difference. He stood out much more against the background, as I'm sure y'all can see. Well, it depends on the quality if y'all can see that or not. That remains to be seen. But as you notice, this is that door we opened right out here. Back at the courtyard. So we've come full circle. It's very cool how well the Undead Settlement branches out in general. And that's actually one of the most useful times I've ever been able to use that Estus suit there. That came out very, very poorly. One of the most useful applications of the suit I've ever been privy to, I guess would be a better way to put it. Usually you're playing the area either well enough for it not to matter or poor enough for it not to matter. that point, but we are doing just badly enough for it to be a nice change of pace. So good for us here. Now this is an ambush. Or maybe it's not, you know, because they ambushed us down here. I'm mixing up times. So yeah, okay, looks like we have cleared this bit out, actually, which is very nice. I don't think I've missed much in terms of this part here, so we're going to go straight back to that bonfire. We're making decent time, actually. I don't have a look at the clock right now, but it feels like it's passed quicker than I was expecting, which is something I'm thankful for. It's not that I don't want to be recording for you guys. I'm just trying not to make the videos monstrously long, because I know a lot of people don't want to deal with that. And I just feel bad about splitting them in general. I'm personally not a fan of having like the same area cut up into multiple parts unless it's an area that's very conducive to that, which the settlement could be, to its defense. I'm getting better at fighting these guys as time goes on. One thing I don't think I got a chance to talk to you guys about that I'm hopefully remembering correctly. Yes, I chose the young white branch you saw there as my starting item, and I never explained that. But this is the reason right up here. If you have the young white branch from the beginning, the giant in the tower there will just not shoot at you straight up, which makes this whole area so much easier. I cannot overstate how much of a help it makes. And I believe it makes you immune to the damage of his arrows in general if they hit near you, as we just saw. Not only does he not shoot at us, he very kindly takes out all these enemies. Like, I highly recommend it. There's no end-all be-all starting item anymore. Like in Dark Souls 1, you really wanted the Master Key to do cool backdoor strategies and stuff like that. God, I would be very unhappy to die here. Getting so caught up in my discussion of the young white branch. But there's really no must-have Dark Souls 3 starting item. So to me, the young white branch feels like the best, just because it saves you so much effort in this one little section. And to be fair, every other section where there's an archer tree afterwards, you don't actually have to go into the tower and talk to the guy if you want to save the time. Always go to this little bit here and grab the Undead Bone Shard in your playthroughs. It makes it a lot easier to have the upgrade Estus throughout the game, and it's very easy to miss, especially if you are running from the archer during this time. I believe that's all that's up here was the Mortician's Ashes, and that. Let me do a quick double check run through. Very reminiscent of a Graveyard in Dark Souls 1, this right here to me. Very close quarters, lots of winding between the tombstones. But as I was saying earlier, actually, this guy. As I was saying earlier, it's really nice to see how well the Undead Settlement winds together. Because, in my opinion, I might have espoused a bit upon this in the earlier videos, but I very well could have not thought about it. It's terrible. You do that over here. Dark Souls 3 definitely lacks the grand interconnected world of Dark Souls 1. It has an interconnected world, but it's not as played up, and quite frankly, it's not as well done as it had to be in Dark Souls 1, because you didn't have fast travel for the first half of the game. So if you didn't have a well-connected world, the game would have been such a pain, and it's even arguably a bit of a pain as it is right now with fast travel, or with the interconnected world, excuse me. I hate finishing up Quelaag in Blighttown and then having to go all the way back up through Blighttown to get to Sen's Fortress, for example. And this opens us right back out to this area. But while Dark Souls 3 doesn't have that same fantastically interconnected world, it has some of the best level design in isolation in the entire Soulsborne series, in my opinion. Even more so than Bloodborne in a lot of the ways, a lot of the time. And Bloodborne is probably my favorite game of all time. Very nice that I was able to, spoke too soon. I was able to just very gently outspace his attack here. Oh, did I have an R1 stab attack this whole time that I never even considered? That is extremely embarrassing with how much I struggled doing these rolling R1s into the cages. So, forgive me there, mea culpa. That was not my, my intention. We're gonna do the final bit of the settlements. Not that it's not small, if that makes it sound small. Before fighting the boss that we just unlocked, just for thematic's sake. I would love to fight these guys one more time. I still apparently struggle fighting them one at a time. Okay. One down. Like, if you run through here and have to fight all three of these guys, I love the Great Machete Violin, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second, actually. But if you run through this area and have to fight all three of those guys at once, I don't really care how good you are. I think you'll probably have a problem. I love that attack. I would love for him to keep doing that. Now, the Great Machete, man. What a cool weapon. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as good as the ones they carry, but man. I love the sound effects. I love the curvature of the blade. It looks like such a visceral weapon. Very cool. And I think it has the sharpen weapon arc, which is pretty nice. Yeah, sharpen, which is pretty cool, pretty unique. I really liked the Great Machete in Dark Souls 2, I believe it was called, that dropped from the jailers in the Lost Bastille. Can we get this guy to not drop his pot? That apparently isn't in our best interest. I was very afraid that quick step would just straight kill me there, and I probably will pop an Ember soon, to be completely honest, just because I'm running low on healing. I've always struggled with dogs in Dark Souls, and I feel like the best way you can actually approach them a lot of the time is just give them your own rundown, because trying to run from them is a lot of the times really pointless, especially when you're trying to do speedrun stuff. The dogs in Irithil in this game, I think they're a slightly different enemy type than these ones, are such a pain if you're just trying to run past them. They will chase you for screams and screams. So it's really best to just out-aggression them, I think. Which can be a little scary because they are super aggressive in their own right. But it's always seemed to work best for me. Whenever I try and play defensively against them, I end up taking more hits than I should. Here we come upon an NPC that I'll let you guys talk to.
Another one of those unkindled, are you? All you faceless undead, behaving as if you deserve respect. No matter. Heed my words. If you've any sense, you go find a coffin to huddle up inside. You here, in this land of hollows.
You're like a frail maiden on the front lines. If, like the others, you're fool enough to play the champion, then go on ahead. Traipse right past the abandoned church. You'll face death. And it won't be pretty. Enough death to leave you broken. Time after time. Yeah.
What a fantastic voice he has.
If, like the others, you're fool enough to play the champion, then go on ahead. If, like the other, then go on ahead.
So pretty much the same thing. I skipped through there even though it was slightly new dialogue. So we see another NPC through a gate we can't open. We will get to her shortly. We're gonna do first. Let's get this dealt with up here. We meet an old friend. Or someone reminiscent of an old friend.
Pardon me, I was absorbed in thought. I am Siegward of Carim. To be honest, I'm in a bit of a pickle. Have you ever walked near a white birch only to be struck by a great arrow? Well, if I'm not mistaken, they come from this tower. Whoever it is, I'm sure I can talk some sense into them. But I have to find a way up, and that's just the trouble. This lift only goes down, you see, and... well, that doesn't get me anywhere. This lift, with a little warming up, eventually... No. I've got to use my head and think. This lift, with a...
So we meet another ponderous Knight of Catarina, very reminiscent of Siegmeier, I believe, from Dark Souls 1. If I get the name wrong, please forgive me. And he's very confused about the elevator in this tower, which makes sense if he only saw it going down, but as we saw, it's a double elevator. So that's the solution there, buddy. We might actually have to reset for him to appear where we want him to appear and continue that quest line. So we'll see in a second. And here is the archer that Siegward was mentioning.
I help anytime.
And as you can see, he's already very friendly to us, which is nice. I cannot recommend taking the Young White Branch as your starting item highly enough. It makes such a difference to me. Unfortunately, y'all aren't going to get to see his dialogue, which was an overthought of mine. But, it saves us a lot of time in the long run. Nice. So it appears as if going up, yes, he has seen the elevator go up and figured it out just as we have. And now he's chilling up here.
Oh, don't disappear like that. You had me downright worried. But thanks to you, an epiphany has struck me square in the head. I've unraveled the riddle of this inscrutable lift. On some days I begin to doubt myself. I went up the tower, so I thought, then somehow ended up here. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Anyhow, do you see that? That humongous beast? I'm no coward and I've a steady hand, but that thing makes my skin crawl. How now? Think twice before you go down that road. I could try talking some sense into him. No, I think not. He's far too overheated. I've got to use my head and think. I could try.
So, Siegward here is very interested in finding intelligent ways to overcome his problems, and we're not going to allow him to do that. We're far too impatient for that, unfortunately. We are just going to run headfirst into this demon and see how it turns out for us. Should pop this Ashen Estus.
No! You should have waited! Well, it's too late now. I, Siegward of the Knights of Catarina, fight by your side!
Oh, well. Turns out it did not end well for us. I've never actually died to that demon before while Siegward was fighting it. So hopefully that doesn't end up with him dead, actually. I'm unsure of how that works. I cannot believe that gave me the old one-shot. Fortunately for you guys, you're gonna get to see some of my my speedrun strats now. Hopefully we can make it back there with minimum injury to ourselves and others. Now whenever I'm running through this, I always wait this out because it saves you a lot of time and effort in the long run. Like I said, these dogs are monsters. Kill those just for good measure. Now, I would say we have a lot better chance against that demon with all our Estus, but the truth of the matter is he killed us in one hit. So we're just gonna have to make do. Oh, the elevator was already up. It's secret, I guess. Or because of us going back down, that's right. Now, it's gonna be really unfortunate if he's actually managed to die because I died there. That would put a real damper on the rest of the run, actually. But we will roll with the punches, whatever the answer. Nice. Okay. Well, that's very nice. I'm gonna try and not get one shot again, but honestly, a single absent judgment is pretty hard to avoid.
It's too late now. I, Siegward of the Knights of Catarina, fight by your side.
Well, it appears as if he doesn't land directly on us, we end up okay. Although he has really given us the rush down. Nice. I did very little damage to him, actually, which is unfortunate. It does not give me a good vibe coming into the boss, so maybe we'll upgrade our weapon a little before we do that.
That was quite a performance. But you mustn't get in over your head. We Unkindled must put our duties first. But, for the moment, we've a toast to make. To your valor, my sword, and our victory together. Long may the sun shine! Well, I'm going to have myself a little nap. The only thing to do, really, after a nice toast.
They really did a fantastic job with Siegward in this game. He encompasses pretty much every likable aspect you have about Siegmeyer in Dark Souls 1, assuming that is his real name. I have not forgotten. But they added just so much likable personality on top of that. The toasting, the napping, he's a real joy to talk to every time you see him. And it really makes you attached to his character that much more and want to complete his storyline and assist him in accomplishing his goals. Now this is an area I rarely actually explore, so while I want to be quick because we are going so slowly in the long run, the grand scheme of things here, I don't want to miss anything. There's a few items I know are here, one of which is the large club, my all-time favorite weapon in Dark Souls, actually. It's hard to pick this weapon up and not use it, actually. But there's also quite a few other little things, I believe most of which come from this building. If I could ever find it. Oh, right there, of course. Now we're going to have to deal with a few more cage guys, which should be nice now that I know I have that attack. As you can see, they're waiting for us. At least I thought they were. Because that one certainly looks alive. Maybe it's up here. That one looks alive, yeah. Man, that is much easier. Alluring skulls are actually fairly useful too, for things like dogs, for bosses like deacons, actually. Anytime you need to distract the mob or some quick enemies that are hollow, they are fairly useful. We're going to come upon a difficult little section up here. We're going to have to fight two evangelists at once. Now, speaking of the devil, I was about to comment upon how this attack I've never seen before, this spit attack, is actually really interesting because it's very reminiscent of the attacks the boss of this area uses, the curse-rotted Greatwood. I don't actually believe we can pull a single one of these, but we'll see. But that really ties together the whole theme of what it means to be hollow in terms of their ability. They're associated with this kind of poison, this kind of decay. Unfortunately, it really looks like we're going to be stuck. Yeah, they are not making this easy for us here. Oh, Lord. So we are in dire straits here. Alright, give me the grab. Yeah. And you can just circle strafe around that, as you just saw. That attack is also very punishable by backstab if you're close enough. Now, I apologize for my silence there, but that was a very tense situation for me. As you can see, I'm out of Estus. It's unfortunate, but we're going to press on. We might actually have a healing item in the form of, yes, we have the gift from our friend Siegward. If I could find it. Forgive my blindness right there. That very much came in handy for us, actually. But we will press on with our no healing. Relatively low health. See what we can see up here. Flynn's Ring, actually. Might as well equip it because we don't have a lot of other options. I should have been talking about some of these, but we'll put on Flynn's Ring, which gives you better attack damage as you have low equip load. Now, I believe I actually missed an item down here that I want to go back down for real quick. Just forgive me for a moment. I thought there was an item hanging from a... Oh, and we get that too. Nice. It's not their hat, which is the best item you can get from them. But, I believe there's an item hanging from a corpse down here that I missed somehow. I can't believe that guy wasn't alive, actually. He looks very much like the enemy versions. Ah, there it is. We can utilize a bow to get that done. Now, we can go back up, but we can pretty much finish up this area. And I think our next path is going to be warping back to Firelink to grab the key. Probably talk to a few NPCs to get that out of the way. Or we actually can probably save that, because we're going to need to go back and speak with Irina and Aegon after anyway. But we are wrapping it up. Or at least on the path to. This is a tricky little bit that's very easy to miss, and I hope we actually can make this without dying. Oh, yeah, you definitely can. For that reason. Fairly easy to miss, like I said, but it will open us up to what I believe is maybe a Estus Shard or a Undead Bone Shard. I'm not sure exactly. It was something useful over here. Ah, the Cornyx ring, of course. Everyone's favorite ring from Dark Souls 1. Well, not necessarily. But this pops us out right back here, conveniently, at the boss. But like I said, we're gonna homeward bone first. like I said, forgive me for the length of the area, but I wanted to get it all out in one video. We are approaching the close.
Gracious, passing fine ash thou'st given. Let this ash bestow nourishment. I only hope these new wares content thee.
So by giving her the ash, we've unlocked a few new items, most important of which is this key here. While we're here, we might as well upgrade if possible and spend our souls. No reason to run around with all of them.
Ah, 'tis good, wasn't it?
Pretty.
I'm fine upgrading this weapon for now, because we are going to upgrade it soon enough, or replace it, I guess, soon enough. But, it's just nice to have the damage until then.
Very well, then taken.
We are mostly just going to pump Vigor here, just to make sure we don't have any more embarrassing one-shots, like with the demon there. Now we're going to warp back to the sewer. We're going to take that locked door from before with our new key, and we should be able to get access to that lower area we can see from the bridge up here. Now this is what I was afraid of. Fortunately, our new knife actually does quite a bit more damage. Almost one-shotting these rats. Or one-shotting them, apparently. Now, if we go to the right at this crossroad, we come up to the statue of Velka, where we can forgive our sin. It's fairly useful if you've accidentally hit an NPC, which happens more than anyone would like to admit. We get to go through a nice little catacombs section. Deal with some skeletons. Very good enemy variety in Undead Settlement in particular. There are very few other areas in the game that I think have quite as much enemy variety as this, where you get to fight things like skeletons, evangelists, dogs. Pretty much all the variety of enemies the game has to offer you in general. We even get a demon packed into one area. I really think it's, in general, very indicative of the high-quality level design in Dark Souls 3 as a whole. Now we pop out, like I said, the lower area of that bridge. And this is what happens to that evangelist a lot of the time. Our backstab does fantastic damage now, too. This should make dealing with the boss of the area much easier. So, in general, crystal lizards in this game aren't even as worthwhile as in the older games, I think. Ooh. In the older games, I really feel like they gave more useful upgrades materials in general, but in this one it seems like it's mostly infusion materials and special upgrades, such as demon or dragon titanite, things like that. Crystal twinkling titanite, that's what it's called. So a lot of the time I don't even really worry about getting them too much, which is unfortunate, but it saves you a lot of effort because they can be a real pain on intentional design. my range is not what I thought it would be. It's unfortunate that I one-shot them sometimes and not others. I'm not actually sure if that's a counter hit mechanic coming into play, but it makes me undershoot what I think I need to be doing. And here we go.
Who is there? Is someone there? Anyone? Oh, please, whoever you are, touch me. The dark surrounds me, nibbles at my flesh. Little creatures, they never stop biting. So please, hold out your hand and touch me. Ah, yes, there you are. So close, indeed. Then I am not entirely alone just yet. Praise the merciful gods above. Oh, forgive me. I am Irina of Carim. I came to this land so that I might be a firekeeper. Your touch has freed me from the darkness. You are a champion, then? I am weak and unfit to tend the flames. But if it would not trouble you, might I enter into your service instead? Oh, thank you, sweet champion. I shall take my vows. I, Irina of Carim, solemnly swear to serve you.
So Irina is a fairly interesting character for a cleric design. She mentions that she wants to be a firekeeper, which is interesting. We've seen firekeepers in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. I believe you see them in Dark Souls 2 at least. But I might be thinking of the firekeepers from the beginning as maybe been retconned into more things like the Shrine Handmaiden we see in 3. But she really illustrates the connection we see between faith and dark in Dark Souls 3 and Dark Souls 2. I think was the first of the games to really elaborate on that. Dark Souls 1 didn't really touch upon it in general. But we can see she's really struggling with darkness as a concept. It's surrounding her. These small bugs that... these small insects that live in the darkness that we've seen the evangelists actually throw at us that cause bleed buildup are supposedly gnawing at her. And she is a fairly interesting character because we rarely see that kind of dark struggle in clerics. We either see them be good or bad in Dark Souls for the most part. Generally bad a lot of the time, actually. So it's nice to see a very tormented character, and we'll see how her storyline pans out as we go.
You've gone and rescued her, have you? How very quaint. Pitying creatures that are beyond help. Very well. I'm sick of looking after her at any rate. I am Egon, a knight of Carim. I am allied to you for as long as you assure the girl's safety. And only for that long. What's the matter? My terms are very simple. I am allied to you for an only... What's I...
So, Egon there is very, very faintly veiling his threat towards us. That he's cool with us, looking out, learning from Irina, but we need to keep her safe, or else we're going to have to answer to him. Now we're finally ready to go see the boss of this area. We're quite a bit into the video. I'm still debating internally right now whether or not I'm going to be doing the NPC dialogue in Firelink at the end of this video. I believe we have to talk to Greyrat for sure. We want to talk to Irina and Igon. we're going to want to talk to Cornyx. I believe that might actually be it, so that's fairly quick to do. So we'll probably get it knocked out of the way. I absolutely love the flowers leading up to this boss, by the way. They really did a great job with the atmosphere of this arena, and the setup in general. It reminds me a lot of the Celestial Emissary from Bloodborne. The flowers and the foggy atmosphere. Now, a lot of people are very unhappy with this boss in general, as they are with a lot of the less straightforward bosses in Dark Souls 3. But I really enjoy the breakup in monotony of the classic Soul-style bosses. We don't want to get locked into a corner here. Unfortunately, all these guys have swarmed us. What I like to do for this boss, obviously you have to take out his weak points. But I enjoy taking out this hand and knee one, I believe, before he falls down. Just so that it makes the second half of the fight easier. And this attack is the one that I was saying was so reminiscent of the cages. I barely even got a chance to hit him because of the little guys. That sweep is his most dangerous attack in this phase, I'm pretty sure. And the ads rarely make such a difference here. So take out that one, then we go for this leg pustule. Take out that. And we are doing fantastic damage, actually. We can avoid getting killed. I think we're gonna pop this here, but like I said, I actually really enjoy the variety of boss fights in Dark Souls 3. This isn't a straightforward, quote-unquote fair, evenly matched fight, but it really feels different from a lot of the other fights in the game. And it feels fair to me. I've never actually fought it as a spellcaster yet. I feel like that would make it a lot more annoying, seeing as you can't target the individual weak spots with your lock on. We actually can't reach this top one, which is unfortunate. So we're gonna have to go for the front. Now we can go for these. That was very close. I'm getting a little scared of sitting on not full health, so I'm just gonna pop this. There we go. Now once you pop all those, you really can just wail on the hand for the rest like that. Like, the boss is fairly simple once you know his pattern, you know his weak points, but he can still catch you off guard with some of his attacks. They hit fairly hard. I don't have a lot to, once we can see who I thought might be Hodrick there is dead, which is unfortunate. But this is the Pit of Hollows, as mentioned before. But I don't have a lot to say about that boss in terms of elaborating on what it means, things like that. I just think it's a fairly well-designed fight. I think it really adds a lot of variety to the boss cycle in the game. You just got done with Vorts, and before that you dealt with Udic Skundir. We're both more classic-style Dark Souls bosses, so it's nice to get something that feels a lot more Zelda-esque, actually. Now, before we go, like I said, we're going to just pop in and talk to the NPCs. So our arena's right down here.
Oh, Champion of Ash. Welcome back. I was not meant to be a firekeeper, but but I am honored to serve you beside the bonfire. The gods are ever merciful. My gratitude lies with them and with you. I am yours now. Your wish is my command.
So we can learn miracles from her, which we're not going to really deal with.
You know, in my home of Carim, I was a nun. I would be pleased to share the tales of miracles with you. Although, to be honest, I only know a few. But if I had a divine tome, I could tell you many tales and more. Oh, only I cannot see. Terribly sorry. But you'll have to find me a divine tome in Braille. You know, in my eye would be...
So as she mentions there, she is in fact blind too. I forgot to mention that earlier. So we'll have to find her Braille tomes. Luckily for us, we will. They're not too uncommon. Up here we have Cornyx.
Ah, there you are, unkindled one. I wish to express my gratitude for trusting a lowly pyromancer and allowing me to gaze upon this majestic flame. As promised, I will impart pyromancies to you. But first, you'll need a flame of your own. Careful you don't burn yourself with it.
It's nice that he gives you a pyromancy flame, actually.
To learn pyromancies, you must vow to become my pupil. I know, but such is the way of the world. Respect your elders and so on. And pyromancy, of course, is no exception. Oh, we'll need a pyromancy tome to learn more advanced pyromancies. Though unorthodox, that would be the most expedient way to make progress. If this were the Great Swamp, and you had the luxury of time, we could have trained you the hard way. To learn I know.
So, Cornyx doesn't have too much interesting to talk about, but he does mention the whole cycle of pupils and masters, which is fairly important to pyromancy, and we can see it in Dark Souls 1, for example, with Quilana, with Laurentius.
Oh, hello, you're back, and in one piece. Well, now it's time I do my part, huh? Do me a favor, give this a... Heavens, she was already dead. Thank you. I'm not surprised, though. Almost a relief, really. You can keep the ring as, well, a little trinket of thanks, I suppose. You can keep them as... Goodbye. Oh, this place is...
So as we can see, Grey Rat was not too thrilled to learn his friend was not with us anymore, which is unfortunate, but it will open us up to having him go on little thieving missions for us soon enough, which is nice. And arguably, really, in the world of Dark Souls, being dead might be better than the alternative, so... Our final person we're going to want to talk to is Igon up here, once the famous Firelink fog wall decides to let up. I believe he is down near Udex Gundir's arena, actually. He's not the most social guy. He doesn't want to be in the shrine proper. Unless I'm misremembering, it's very possible. Oh, maybe he is there and I simply missed him. He definitely comes here later, though. But while I look for him, what I wanted to mention is, like I said, putting out these episodes is quite a bit. You have to deal with a lot of research when you want to be thorough, things like that. And in general, they take a long time to create. So I wanted to do something maybe a little bit more relaxed as a side series, and I was hoping to get an opinion on if you'd rather see something I haven't played before or something more freeform and sandboxy, like a survival game. And if you have any opinions on that, just let me know, and I'd be happy to come up with a list of suggestions we can work with. But I like something just casual I can pump out when I really don't feel up to sitting down for 2 hours to play through a whole area thoroughly.
Ooh, yet to give in, eh? Good. The Firekeeper must be twitching with delight. But what do you really know about these Lords of Cinder? These supposed legends? Let's take Aldrich, for one. A right and proper cleric. Only he developed a habit of devouring men. He ate so many that he bloated like a drowned pig, then softened into sludge. So they stuck him in the Cathedral of the Deep, and they made him a Lord of Cinder, not for virtue, but for might, such as a lord, I suppose. But here I ask, do we have a sodding chance? At the foot of Lothric Castle, an old path still runs below the tower in the Undead Settlement. It was used to transport sacrifices to the Cathedral of the Deep. You should see where it leads, if you've the stones for it. You haven't given up yet? Then you're a brasher lad than I thought. You can make better use of this. I don't need it. Not now I've flown the coop. They are sworn by wolf's blood to contain the abyss. The Legion will bury a kingdom at the first sign of exposure. Joyous bunch, really. Gaining admission to the Legion is a matter of some ceremony. Inside their keep, snuffing out the flames of 3 altars opens the door to the wolf blood. Even accursed undead want to believe they're special, it seems. I pity the sorry souls. Gaining admission to
I forgot about Hawkwood there, and he has quite a bit to say, a lot of background on the Lords of Cinder. I won't talk about that here because that's better used in episodes for those bosses areas in general. But he does make reference to the fact that he's a deserter again, that he's flown the coop, so to speak. I actually have no idea where Igon can be if not out there, because he does not seem to be standing around, so I might just figure that out later and do that at the beginning of the next episode. That seems like a decent idea. So thanks again so much for watching, and sorry for the wait. I'll make sure it's not as long between this and the next episode, which shouldn't be this long either. So thank you for dealing with that too, and I'll see y'all next time.